Hey, what's up everybody, it's Zach here. Street Fighter V is coming out very soon, this Tuesday, February 16th. I'm here to just give you guys a couple of beginner tips, some really basic stuff, not necessarily to do with the game itself, but just to get you guys primed up for the game. I'm hyped, let's do this. So Street Fighter V obviously is a brand new game. Some people might be coming in from Street Fighter 4. Some people have probably never played a Street Fighter game in their life. Some people are probably, coming over from Tekken or something. All I gotta say is, if you do play Street Fighter games, or if you play fighting games in general, some of the things, obviously, that you are used to in terms of fundamentals and all that will carry over. But it's a different game, so don't expect to play it exactly like every other game. There's different mechanics, there's different things. Don't expect it to be exactly the same as Street Fighter 4. When you're coming into a brand new game, you have to have an open mind. So basically just think that some of the fundamentals you're going to have will carry over, but keep an open mind. It's a new game. At the same time, don't be afraid, because you're playing a fighting game, and they're all similar in some very basic fundamental respects. So a lot of new players always ask, what should I be playing? Should I be playing with a stick, or should I be playing with a pad? The truth is, there is no real answer. If you want to be old school, you could probably go with an arcade stick, but it's not necessary. In terms of arcade sticks, you have a lot of options. Arcade sticks are obviously a bit more geared toward what Street Fighter players are used to. There's a stick, there's 6 buttons, in most cases now there's 8 buttons. So it's a bit more geared to what a Street Fighter game is supposed to be played like, but it's not necessary to have a stick. In terms of stick options, you have Mad Catz, you have Hori, you have Quanba. There's a whole bunch of other companies that are making sticks. Just make sure that you buy the right kind of stick. You don't want to buy a wrong stick and that it doesn't work with your system. Very luckily, Capcom has announced that you can use your old PS3 sticks with a certain driver, but you'll have to do a little bit of research on that on the internet. So you can use your PS3 sticks. In terms of the PC, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I know a lot of the sticks that are currently out there work with the PC version. So hopefully if you have a stick, or if you want to buy a stick and you are buying the PC version, then you're in luck. Also to keep in mind with sticks is that there are different types of gates, so you might want to use an octagonal gate, which goes in all 8 directions, or you could use a square gate, which is the most common one. Like all the Mad Catz sticks have a square gate, so it has defined corners in the 4 corners, so you could feel the actual corners. So there's always that to keep in mind in terms of stick. In terms of pads, the advantage with a pad is that, of course, it comes with the system, so you don't have to buy a $230 stick. So the question stick versus pad comes up, and there's a bit of a stigma against pad, or there used to be a lot in the old days, but, a lot of top players are using pad, such as Snake Eyes or Knuckle Dew, but those are a bit kind of new school players. Even some old school players, like really, really old school players, like a guy called Alyun, uses a pad, and he's been using a pad forever. So if you want to use a pad, go ahead. It's whatever you're more comfortable with, and you'll find that whatever suits your tastes will work. I mean, I come from the old school, I've been playing Street Fighter since 1991. However, I never really liked the arcade stick, especially since it was octagonal gate. So I played a lot of Alpha 2 on the DualShock, and I played a lot of Third Strike on the DualShock. Even though I was still going to arcades back in those days, my preference is pad. So it's it's whatever you're used to. You have a whole bunch of other options too. For example, I'm most likely going to be using a DualShock 2 with a converter, because I think the DualShock 2 is the best for me in terms of stick versus pad. So it's whatever you like most. When it comes to picking a character in Street Fighter V, you have a lot of options. There's going to be 16 characters released at launch. And of course, there's going to be downloadable characters released every month. picking a character can come down to a lot of things. You know, maybe it could be you like the way that character looks. They look really cool, so you really want to play them. It could also be you have a history with that character. Like, I've always played, you know, you could say like, oh, I've always played Ken, so I'm just going to pick up Ken or something like that. Like for me, it was I picked Dudley from Third Strike right away when he was announced for Super Street Fighter 4. That's who I played because I love Dudley. But, you know, most important of all, it's how the character plays. You could like how a character looks, but it just doesn't fit your game plan. You know, it just doesn't suit the way you play the game, or you don't like the way that actual character plays. So that could be a factor. Maybe you hate the way the character looks or whatever. It's how they play that's important, because essentially these are just moving boxes with, you know, that are active for a certain amount of frames or whatever. They're just these moving boxes, and the character is essentially a skin. Another important factor of picking a character is that normally you would have one character that you play, and that will be your main. But keep in mind that it's really important to branch out and play other characters, not only for the fact that you will be able to know other characters, but the more you play different characters, the more you try them against people, the more you try them in training mode, the more you're going to know what they're able to do. And that way, if you don't like playing them or whatever, you know how to defeat them. So the last thing I'm going to say is get ready to lose. I don't mean that in a bad way at all. What I mean is essentially get ready to learn. You're going to lose a lot when you first start, and there's nothing wrong in that. If you get frustrated really easily, if you're a person that just likes winning, if you don't want to basically kind of learn to play the game, that's fine. But if you want to keep getting better at the game, the best way to do it is to lose a lot, because you can't always win. And if you always win, it's just pretty boring, actually. Basically what I'm saying is that you should learn from your errors. Watching your losses, watching what you did wrong, what did I do in this match that was bad, why did I lose, is always a good way to, you know, improve yourself. If you always watch your wins, you know, you're just kind of stroking your ego and saying, look at me, look how good I am, blah, blah, blah. You won't know what's wrong, you won't know what points you need to improve upon. I mean, it's you know, you're kind of criticizing yourself by, you know, looking at what you're doing wrong, but essentially you're just trying to kind of better yourself. As is often said, Street Fighter is a game that's sort of like high-speed chess mixed with poker. There's a lot of strategic decisions being made, but there's a lot of bluffing involved in terms of your opponent, and it's all done at a really high-speed pace and all that. So a good thing to keep in mind is try to not only think about what you're going to do next and how you think your opponent is going to react, but also to think about how your opponent thinks you are going to react and what you think they're going to do next. Another good way to improve yourself is to look at what other players are doing. So throughout the course of Street Fighter 4, it was very common to, you know, look up YouTube videos of the top player who was playing your character or whatever. And then, you know, if you got stuck in a matchup against another character you didn't know how to fight, try to find a match with your character versus that other character and then learn from that. Another good thing about Street Fighter V is that everybody will be placed in leagues in terms of their skill levels and all that. So when the game first comes out, everybody's going to be at an even playing field, but eventually once that evolves, you'll be playing mostly against people that are at your level. So that's a great way to start learning. At the same time, don't be afraid to play people who are better than you. The best way to improve is, as I said, to learn from your mistakes. What better way than to learn from somebody who is much better than you and learn what they're doing right and what you're doing wrong. So I just want to keep reiterating that point that it's important to learn in Street Fighter. Your character will never change unless there's a balance patch or whatever. There's no such thing as like leveling up a character. The only way you could level up in Street Fighter is for you to level up. So that's it, everybody. I hope everybody's excited about Street Fighter 5. I'm going to be playing it nonstop on Tuesday. I'm probably going to be streaming a lot. And I'm going to be making a whole bunch of tutorials. So pick up the game. It's going to be good. I hope to see you online.